ready to start a podcast?
I am.
You ready to start a podcast?
Yes.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to Learning the Law, a podcast on all things legal with a focus on current events, where we try to teach you things in 1 hour. My name is Ashley, aka Phoenix Nymphy, and my co-host, who is the man of the hour and doesn't have to worry about technical difficulties, is my husband, Ron. This podcast is purely educational and should not be taken as legal advice. This podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship. This podcast is based on his interpretation of relevant law, and any opinions expressed are the opinions of the individual or individuals making them, and do not reflect the opinions of any firm, company, or other individuals. Ron is a licensed practicing attorney in the state of California.
Yes, I am. Since September of 99.
And this week, the podcast is sponsored by Lawyer.com. With 10 plus years of matching experience and technology development, Lawyer.com is proud to make thousands of lawyer connections each week. Lawyer.com connects users nationwide with lawyers in all areas of law. Please use our referral link to help out the podcast and find yourself a lawyer in your area. Also, this is new. We are new here on YouTube. And actually, this is not going to be our home. This is temporary. We decided that we are going to actually move the podcast over here to YouTube. So, unfortunately, when I went to try to live stream it on the Learning the Law YouTube channel that I created, it wouldn't allow it. So we're streaming it on my already established YouTube channel just to see how it is streaming on YouTube, because it is different. We are coming from Twitch, but I wanted to separate it out because it is growing, it is getting bigger, and we've got a lot of ideas for other things that we want to do for you, and I think it would just be better to separate it itself and put it on its own content. Have its own like content section, because we do have ideas for other things. Oh, good Lord. So that's the update here. We will be next week. We will be on the Learning the Law YouTube. So please go follow us there. Help us get to 100 subscribers so that we can get that personalized URL. I will link there should be a link in the description for here it is, the actual YouTube channel. Here it is. I will link it in the chat. Please go follow us over there at the Learning the Law YouTube channel. So, Ron.
Yeah.
How has your week been? We were not here last week. We decided to cancel due to you got your prosthetic last week.
I did.
Yeah, and it was a lot, and it was exhausting.
Yeah, it's hard to walk around on it.
Yeah,
but well, I'll get used to it. It's better than walking around on nothing.
Yeah, so we had that appointment today as well. And you've now graduated from weekly to now bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks. So your next appointment is 2 weeks from now instead of next week, which is very nice. That'll be a nice change. So we don't have every Tuesday afternoon. But that's like the biggest thing for us right now. We're just gonna jump right into it. Like we're just gonna jump right into it. We're here to talk about the Texas abortion law. Just outright, we're here. We're here to discuss, in my opinion, the most evil and brilliant piece of legislature that exists to this day right now. And I hate to say it.
The formal legal name is the Texas Heartbeat Act.
Yeah. So Dolores Umbridge would be very proud of this bill. And the main thing that I have seen, okay, all right, you know what? Okay, I'm jumping too far ahead. Okay.
It's not a bill.
It's not
It
a
is a
bill.
law.
It is a law now. That is correct. That is correct. You're right. So just tell us. Okay. Tell us. I have so many notes and questions and things I want to talk about. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, first you want to start with Roe v. Wade and what that says, and then go into the Texas, or do you want to go into the Texas law and then compare to Roe v. Wade?
No, we're going to do Roe v. Wade. We're going to start Roe v. Wade next week. I want to focus solely on the Texas, what the Texas Abortion Law Heartbeat Act states. I know a lot of you already know that after 6 weeks, you can't have an abortion according to the law. And people can sue someone if they suspect them of taking them to get an abortion, performing the abortion, and getting the abortion. But I know that there's more in it than just those two particular things.
Yeah, yes, there is.
Those are just the two biggest talking points that people have brought up, which are very important talking points, but we'll get to reason why. And the reason why we're addressing this now, well, the reason why we're not talking about Roe v. Wade first is because this happened last week. And the way I want to do it is I want to go through this and explain what is actually happening with this. And of course, we're going to touch on Roe v. Wade just a little bit, but this is going to actually be the jumping off point into our mini series for Roe v. Wade, because there's a lot to unpack there and there's a lot going on around that. And it's Roe v. Wade, abortion, this is going to be a very, very heavy topic. And I've been very hesitant on approaching it, but I feel like it is time with this act coming out. And of course, as soon as we start streaming, Remus makes his appearance.
Of course.
Every dead blame time. Every time.
He's a glory hound.
Ugh. So that is where we're at with this. So let's learn what is actually in this particular thing. So I'll let you take it away.
Well, first, a law has certain sections. And the first section, section 1, gives it its formal name, in this case, the Texas Heartbeat Act. Section 2 tells you that the legislature is the one that did it. Section 3 is where you get to the definitions.
Okay.
And this is where you find your interesting things. Detection of fetal heartbeat is subchapter H. And in that definition, it means cardiac activities or the steady and repetitive rhythmic contraction of the fetal heart within the gestational sac. Okay.
Turn your phone. Okay, can you tell Yoda to shut up?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to keep a Jedi Master quiet.
Well.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I better turn the ringer off too, just in case it's on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and what that means is basically if you can detect the heartbeat with a variety of tests, that the fetus is sufficiently developed to actually have a heart.
So
now,
I just to give you all a little bit of information, a fetus's heartbeat can be heard. That's one of the first things that is formed. So it can be as early as 3 to 4 weeks after conception.
Yeah, but it won't be fully formed till at least 10 weeks.
Right. So you, and just so you understand how the cycle works, because it seems either they don't understand, either our lawmakers don't understand or they don't care. I think it's the latter. Conception has can only happen at a certain point in the month, and that is when we drop an egg. So we have to ovulate in order to conceive. Ovulation is different for everyone, but on average of a 28-day cycle, at about the 13th day, which is about 2 weeks into a month, that is when you will start doing your ovulation, right? So you'll have about a week where that's going on. So that's when you can get pregnant. Now, you can have sperm in your body for 7 weeks, up to 7 days before an egg is ever dropped. So you can have sex a week before your egg drops and still get pregnant. But after the egg is dropped, it dissolves into the uterus and into the lining. So it's not going to be useful anymore. So you're less likely to get pregnant once the egg does drop. So you have to have that combination. And as long as everything functions properly, a man can impregnate a woman way more often than a woman can get impregnated. Like, there is literally only a certain time of the month in which we can actually conceive. So we are very limited when that actually happens. And some people can pinpoint exactly when they ovulate. I'm actually one of those people who probably doesn't ovulate. That's the thing that happens. It exists. Anyway, I digress. So if you're looking at that and say you ovulate right on that 13th day, okay, and you get pregnant that day, when the egg drops, you are pregnant, okay? You don't learn that you are pregnant for at least another 2 weeks, if that, because you have to wait because the symptoms of pregnancy are the same symptoms of menses. So until you are late, which is another 2 weeks after you've dropped your egg, on average, you don't even know if you're pregnant. If even. So you've got maybe. So you're looking at maybe 3 weeks before at the earliest, you can find out you're pregnant. At the earliest that you find out you're pregnant. So keep that in mind when we're going through all of this stuff. The science behind this this bill or this law is not beneficial when you put the science on top of this. It doesn't work together. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, you can go now.
Okay.
I just feel like that is very important when it comes to conceiving, because a lot of people are like, well, you don't know when you conceive. You don't actually know when you conceive. You never do. You don't know if you actually fertilize that egg because it's a crapshoot.
Right. Okay. Then they go on to define pregnancy. And for the purpose of this law, pregnancy means a female reproductive condition that begins with fertilization, not implementation.
So it begins at conception, is what they're saying. It begins.
Yeah.
You don't. Okay. You can't even. You don't even know when you conceive. You can backtrack and guesstimate after you find out you're pregnant, but you still, it's not 100. There's literally no way, unless you are watching that egg get fertilized, you will not know.
Right. So it's very possible that a lot of women have been quote unquote fertilized and don't know it.
There are a lot of natural miscarriages that do happen because, like, you know, your
25%.
Yeah, your body actually does naturally miscarry, and it's just a regular period. It's just a regular period. There's no extra harm, there's no extra pain, no extra blood. It's just a regular period because your body is like, this is not a viable egg or a viable sperm, right? So just sorry, I'm going to be talking a lot about how women's bodies work side by side to this, because the science just does not support this law.
So, and then B, it occurs when the woman is carrying the developing human offspring. So this does not cover conception via in vitro method.
Okay, so
you are not pregnant according to that, because you're not carrying the offspring until it gets implanted in you. Then you're pregnant. But while that fertilized egg is in the dish, you're not considered pregnant.
But hold up. How does that make sense? Because according to them, life begins at conception. Well, you can conceive outside of a womb.
Yeah. But for the purposes of this law, pregnancy occurs when the woman is carrying the developing human offspring.
Okay. Well, the science does not support. Okay. Well, there are. Okay. All right. Continue
and then
on.
C, it's calculated from the first day of the woman's last menstrual period.
What?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
So if you're tracking your menstrual period, say it happens, your last day was New Year's Day, you are going to be considered pregnant on New Year's Day, even though
you've had okay. So let me. Okay, so if I were a regular person and I didn't deal with PCOS, the way it's set up, last week would have been the week that I would have been fertile and been ovulating. On the 12th of August was the first day of my last period. This is also the period that sent me to the hospital because I was in so much pain. So according to this law, that'd be 1, 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, almost 4 weeks. So if I found out I was pregnant right now, I'd have 2 more weeks to decide if I could have if I wanted an abortion.
Correct.
If I could even find out if I was pregnant. Like
Correct.
that. Dude, they really are not. Wow. Okay. That doesn't give a woman any time to breathe.
No, you know what else it tells you to do? Do not track or keep any data of your last period.
Okay, but we have to. Like I have to be able to keep up with that stuff. But anyway, just for medical purposes, it's easier for me to keep up with that because our bodies are affected by the way our hormones work. And this is just for anybody. So yeah. Right. Wow. Okay. Anyway, continue.
I have a question for you since I'm a male.
Yep.
Birth control. Does it stop the menstrual period?
It can if you don't take the placebo pills at the end. So birth control is you're given like 28 days of pills. And at least the ones that I've had experience with, the last week is just basically water pills. They're just placebo pills with no hormones. because that's when your body should be. That's when they want your body to like have the period. So if you don't want a period and you want to skip your period, you just skip that and start the next month's beginning. Because I have done that.
Okay, so it's possible that people on birth control
could not have a period at all.
Could not have a period. Their last menstrual period was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also very possible for women with PCOS, or people who suffer with PCOS, that they don't have a period at all for years. And then all of a sudden they come up pregnant. That has happened too. It's very rare, but it is a thing that happens. It's very, very rare. But not having a period is actually a common issue among women. And having too many periods is a common issue. Well, I mean, what if you were like me in high school where I had a period every 2 weeks? When am I ovulating? If I am, right? Like, there's a lot of nuances that this is not considering, because 1 out of 8 women suffer from PCOS. That's a lot of women.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it goes on to define the fetus as a unborn child. And so throughout the rest of the law, they basically refer to it as an unborn child instead of a fetus.
Okay. It's a fetus.
Okay. The next section, section 171.202, legislative findings. These legislative finding is, for all practical purposes, what the legislature defines as the truth.
Okay, so my question on these things are these, did they bring any doctors in on this at all to discuss this? Or are these just all dudes?
They should have. I don't know what kind of hearings they held for this. It's Texas, so, no idea.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, the first finding. Let me find it again. Is that the fetal heartbeat has become a key medical predictor that an unborn child will reach live birth. I don't know if that's
I'm
true
sorry.
or not.
Say that again.
Fetal heartbeat has become a key medical predictor that an unborn child will reach live birth.
That's not accurate. That's not accurate at all. You can absolutely have a heartbeat and then lose it because there was problems with the pregnancy. So that's not an accurate indicator of whether or not it's going to go full term. That's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie.
I would have to see what kind of medical evidence they had to back up that finding.
That is not accurate. Okay.
The next finding. Cardiac activity begins at a biologically identifiable moment in time, normally when the fetal heart is formed in the gestational sac.
Okay, the heart is still... Okay.
Next, Texas has compelling interest from the outset of a woman's pregnancy in protecting the health of the woman and the life of the unborn child.
Well, I mean, to me, that's a lie, because if you actually cared about the woman, you would also give her assistance after she has a baby. But...
Well, that's their finding. They found themselves a compelling interest.
Okay. I'm really curious where they got all of these lies from, because I'm not hearing any kind of truth. Like, they clearly okay.
And
give me just a second.
Okay. I was just going to give an observation that the compelling interest is in the life of the unborn child. They do not have a compelling interest in the life of the born child.
Yes. Yeah.
As evidenced by some of the other Texas laws that are around.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay. To make an informed choice about whether to continue her pregnancy, the pregnant woman has a compelling interest in knowing the likelihood of her unborn child surviving to full-term birth based on the presence of cardiac activity.
Okay. What? What does that mean?
That basically means that you're going to have to give the woman the results of the test of the fetal heartbeat.
Oh, okay.
And she has to know that it's viable at that point to go full term.
So once you've told her, well, you got a heartbeat, you're screwed. She can't have an abortion, according to this law.
Basically, yeah.
So if a doctor said, you're pregnant, and didn't tell her that they found a heartbeat, she could then decide to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the next section, 171.203, gives the requirements to detect a fetal heartbeat. So the major section here is B. A physician may not knowingly perform or induce an abortion on a pregnant woman unless the physician has determined, in accordance with this section, whether the woman's unborn child has a detectable fetal heartbeat. So he cannot, in Texas, he cannot just skip that test and perform an abortion.
How are they going to know? How are they going to know?
I'm just saying what the law is.
I'm being legitimately serious. How would they know that the child had a heart rate? How would they know?
They wouldn't.
Who is going to enforce that? They can't enforce that because that violates HIPAA. And if someone were to come in and say, well, she had an abortion, I'm going to sue her for it, they still don't have to prove, they still don't have to bring her records to the case.
Right. I thought we were going to get into that after we went through the law.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Just
no problem.
Just thoughts on that. Like, how you going to enforce it?
Right. How are you going to enforce it? They're going to want the medical records. More on that later.
Yeah. Okay.
Section 171.204 is the prohibited abortion of unborn child with detectable fetal heartbeat. A physician does not violate this section if he performed a test for a fetal heartbeat as required and did not detect a fetal heartbeat.
Okay.
So he's perfectly fine performing an abortion if he does not detect a fetal heartbeat. So, I guess
it's almost guaranteeing, because it's so early. It's almost guaranteeing that a woman can't have an abortion because of the fact that you can detect a heartbeat at about 3 weeks, as soon as 3 weeks.
Well, all the doctor has to say is, no, I don't detect a fetal heartbeat.
Right.
Who's going to contradict him, even with the records?
I know. I'm just saying, like, if there was an enforceable way to do this, which there isn't, I mean, how would they, like, anyway, moving on.
Okay.
Trying to keep all my thoughts to myself, and it's not going very well.
I know. I'm trying to get through this as fast as a lawyer can, so we can get to the discussion.
Yeah, because I got a lot of opinions on this.
Oh, I know. 171.205, exceptions for medical emergency.
Oh, I get exceptions.
Okay. Yes. The physician has to have a belief that a medical emergency necessitated the abortion.
Did they say police?
What?
What did you say? What was the beginning of that? Did you say police?
No, I said a physician who performs
Okay.
or induces an abortion under circumstances has to have a belief that a medical emergency necessitated the abortion.
I mean, you could just say the medical emergency is that she's mentally not capable of taking care of a child. There you go. There's your. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Continue.
So that's section 171.205. Then you have 171.206, where it goes into the right.
Do you have a link for this? Because I don't have it on the notes, and I would like to follow through with this, and then I can link it to anybody we can have it linked for people to follow through.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me a minute. Okay, section 206. And this basically says that this does not initiate, or let's see, this subchapter may not be construed to authorize the initiation of a cause of action against or the prosecution of a woman on whom an abortion is performed or induced or attempted to be performed.
What now?
Right. So you're not able to bring a cause of action against the woman having the abortion.
Okay, so you can't sue her?
Correct.
For having an abortion.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's not how that was perceived by a lot of people.
This goes against the people who perform the abortion or aid and abet the abortion.
Okay.
So the doctor, the hospital.
Okay, so you sue so you would sue the doctor who performed the abortion.
Correct.
Because so that's actually, because a lot of people are like, well, you're suing a woman for having an abortion. Because that's how it's being interpreted.
Yeah, but that section right there, no. And if you did sue the woman for having the abortion, then you are violating Roe v. Wade,
which is her right to choose.
Right, because this does not overturn that.
No. Whoops. I was hoping I could. Okay. I was going to try and show the thing, but oh my God, it's like all green. Why is this green? It's so hard to read.
I don't know.
Light green on a white background. Okay. Anyway.
Okay. And then you got section 2. I'm just going to give the last 3 letters. For all of these sections, it begins with 171 point.
Yeah.
Okay. Section 207.
Okay.
Limitations on public enforcement. And what this is they are limiting what the government can do for this law. And it basically says the requirements of this subchapter shall be enforced exclusively through private civil actions. No enforcement of this subchapter and no enforcement of chapters 19 and 22 of the Penal Code in response to violations of this subchapter may be taken, threatened by the state, a political subdivision, a district or county attorney, or an executive or administrative officer or employee of the state.
Or, okay, so that means that you cannot, this is a civil matter. This is solely a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. And if someone does arrest someone for this, they are liable to be sued by the government. They're liable for the government to go after them for illegally arresting someone.
Well, the government's not going to. It's you would sue whoever arrested you for a civil rights violation.
Okay. So this is taking. Okay. So this right here is taking the enforcement out of the government and putting it in regular everyday person. So you have the head of the KKK who is, garbage, that could sue doctors for potentially. But okay. Again, all right.
Yeah.
This is like, it's brilliant, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know how this is going to work out, because like this right here is why I say it's brilliant, because it takes the blame. The way they have written this, they take the blame away from the lawmakers and away from the government and put the blame on the civilians, which I don't know. I don't know if that's brilliant on the side for Democrats, because it's now going to flood the system, because there's going to be an increase, or if it's brilliant on the side of, we don't have to deal with it now. It's in that, and screw it. We did something. Now they'll get off our, you know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's weird. So, okay. Continue.
Section 208, civil liability for violation or aiding and abetting. Okay. Any person other than an officer or employee of a state or local governmental entity in the state may bring a civil action against any person who, 1, performs or induces an abortion in violation of this chapter.
So when they say performs or induces an abortion, that means that the mother could be liable, because if she takes a pill, she's performing the abortion. She's inducing the abortion because she's taken the pill.
The day after pill?
Well, there's an abortion pill too. So.
Oh, I gotcha. According to that, yes. According to previous passages in this law, no.
This law is so contradictory on itself. That doesn't make any sense. So which is it? Okay.
Well, that would be for the court to decide.
But why would we waste our time? Like, why are we wasting our resources on this crap?
All I can say is it's Texas.
Okay. I guess if we waste our resources and time on this, then they can, deal with the people at the border and, get rid of them. Get rid of that problem.
Well, everyone is debating this. They just passed a huge voter suppression law. So
that's going to, anyway.
Okay. Secondly,
we can address that later.
Any person who knowingly engages in conduct that aids or abets the performance or inducement of an abortion, including paying for or reimbursing the cost of an abortion through insurance or otherwise, if the abortion is performed or induced in violation of this chapter, regardless of whether the person knew or should have known that the abortion would be performed or induced in violation of this chapter.
So insurance companies are liable for this.
Yes.
And that is where the problem is going to stay, that's okay. Just because of the way insurance works, that is where we're going to have more of the problems, because they're just going to start saying, okay, we're not going to pay for this. And so then the cost is going to fall on the woman herself, and she's going to have to start paying out of pocket, which will then take, because the primary reason why people have abortions is because they can't afford it, and they don't want to bring somebody into this world when they can't afford to feed themselves. And so the people that are at most at risk are people who live under the poverty line. And that right there is one major reason why.
And say somebody gives you cash for it, right? Cash to get it done. That person giving the cash, they can get sued.
So you can't even do GoFundMe's then to help pay for it. Like, it would have to be secret.
Right. Not unless all the GoFundMe funds came from out of Texas, because Texas doesn't have any jurisdiction over people outside of the state.
Okay. But regardless, like this right here, if you actually think about how it's going to play out, insurance companies always get, they're like, how insurance companies are. And the people that are anyway, this is part of the reason why this bill is racist. It's not only sexist, but it's also racist.
Not only that, as seen from the way, for example, OnlyFans and Pornhub were being paid for through credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
If you paid for a credit card for your abortion, you could sue Visa or MasterCard.
Interesting. Yeah. So like this definitely, this segment right here is definitely targeting poor people. And who are the ones that live the most under the poverty line? Marginalized communities.
Now,
families with women at the head.
In litigation, and this has been true for, going back into the Middle Ages, England common law. In order to sue, you had to have some kind of damage.
That's another thing that I wanted to talk about. What are the damages of Joe Schmo suing the doctor? What are their damages?
He hasn't been damaged, but they're still trying to give him standing to sue. So basically, one doctor could be sued by 10 million people at $10,000 apiece.
Not only that, they don't have to pay, like everything will be covered. They don't have to pay for their attorney's fees, and they'll be awarded $10,000. The thing is, like,
no, they have to pay for their attorney's fees if they lose.
Right. But if they win, they're not responsible for it. Correct. And like, I know that we've still got so much more to go. I don't know that we're going to get through all of this, because honestly, so far what I've read, it's contradictory in and of itself. And there's no way this is going to, it just, logically speaking, this is not going to last long. It's going to be shut down, because you're going to overburden the system. You've got these people who aren't even associated. Like, you've got these people suing. Like, what are your damages? Like, how can you prove damages to sue somebody civilly? Like, there's just,
you can't. So what the legislature did was, a little bit farther down, statutory damages in the amount of not less than $10,000.
What does that even mean?
That gives each person that sues a damage provided by law of $10,000 at least.
So it defined the damages.
Yes.
Is what they did. But in reality, okay, if I were a judge and this came across my desk, I would be like, how does Bob from 2 counties away have damage? Like, how this?
Because the legislature said so.
But it doesn't!
As the judge, you have to follow the law. And if there's statutory damages.
What does statutory damages mean?
Statutory damages means damages provided by the law.
Okay, so continue.
Okay. So, notwithstanding that, the court may not award damages if you've already paid damages on this particular violation before. So, it's whoever sues first.
So you can't sue a doctor for performing an abortion more than once.
Per abortion.
Okay, so it has to be for a different person, basically.
Yeah.
So one doctor could do 10 abortions and he could be sued for, or they could be sued for each of those abortions.
Correct.
Okay. This whole piece, this whole piece makes no sense. They did such a good job at writing up nonsense. And it's utter nonsense. It's utter nonsense and a bunch of lies on how a woman's body works.
But they don't care.
I'm getting very angry, so you have to continue.
I know. Yeah. Okay. So the following is not a defense that you can state according to the law. Ignorance or mistake of law. That's pretty standard.
That's
with just
standard.
Any law. 2, your belief that the requirements of this law are unconstitutional or were unconstitutional. So your belief in Roe v. Wade, for example, is not a defense under this law.
That's bullshit. They're trying to circumvent Roe v. Wade with that phrasing.
Yeah.
That is, if I was on SCOTUS, I would look at them and go, excuse me? Excuse me? God, I hate Texas.
But you've got judges on SCOTUS that were put there specifically to overturn Roe. But nevertheless.
Yes, but I have actually read on what they have said, and Roberts is definitely one who's not a fan of this, actually, surprisingly.
No. But you still have 5 others.
They actually several have actually stated that it's unconstitutional. And I think one reason why they are not seeing anything about why they're not coming out to stop it, one is because it's not a criminal thing. So that is kind of something that they're trying to circumnavigate by making it civil, because SCOTUS could just outright go, no. If it was a criminal thing, they could go shut it down now. But that's also why they went this route that they went, so that it could be played out first, so that it could be played out. Because what they're hoping is that it will gain momentum and continue going forward and winning, and they will be able to stay. But there is a case going up in October that will be challenging Roe v. Wade and could be the end of this.
Yeah,
which I think is also why they haven't said anything, because they do have a case coming up.
And we'll go over upcoming Supreme Court cases at the end of September.
Okay, so we're out. Where are we at now?
Okay. The affirmative defenses that you cannot use.
Okay.
You cannot rely on any state or federal decision that is not binding on the court. which, Roe v. Wade is binding on all the courts in Texas.
So I don't know why why they're trying to circumnavigate that. Like it's a binding law. Like it's okay.
Yeah. A defendant's reliance on any court decision that has been overruled on appeal by a subsequent court.
Okay.
Even if that court decision had not been overruled when the defendant engaged in conduct.
All of that just went over my head. I have no idea what that means.
So, say you got the abortion now, and then SCOTUS overrules Roe v. Wade, right? Well, the fact that Roe v. Wade was the law of the land at the time you got your abortion is not a defense.
So if I got an abortion last month and Roe v. Wade was overturned next month and they sued me after that for the abortion I had.
Yeah, it's not a defense.
That's bullshit too. Oh my God. This is legitimately some Dolores Umbridge shit up in here.
If you ask me, that one violates due process.
Due process. What is that?
You have a due process of law of knowing what the law is.
Mm-hmm.
That way you don't violate it.
Yeah.
And that's why mistake or ignorance of a law is never a defense to a criminal activity.
Right.
So basically what they're saying then is
they're banking on the fact that Roe v. Wade will eventually be turned over and then they can go sue everybody.
Yep. Now, they do put in some defenses that you can use.
Whoop-de-doo.
A person that is sued under this law and reasonably believed after conducting a reasonable investigation that the physician performing or inducing the abortion had complied or would comply with this chapter. And what that means is you took somebody, for example, to a clinic and you believed in your heart that the physician was going to perform the fetal heartbeat, but he didn't, and induce the abortion in violation of this law, you would not be liable.
They're putting so much pressure on the doctors and the insurance companies. That's what this bill is doing. This bill is leaning on the doctors and the insurance companies. They're leaning into the pockets. That's exactly holy I hate to say it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. They're going to the source that they're. This is a smart piece of legislature from the GOP, and it pains me to say this because they are directly attacking where the money comes from and who has money. Because doctors are going to get tired of being sued. Nurses are going to get tired of being sued.
And here's another one that you've got. Defense. This section may not be construed to impose liability on any speech or conduct being the abortion, protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution.
What does that mean?
That means if you have some kind of religious liberty, you're not going to be liable.
So the Satanic Temple.
Yep.
I'm just going to put this out there. According to Jewish law, which is what Christian law is based off of, life begins at first breath, and there are already Jewish institutions who are gearing up to fight for this, to fight for the rights of their women. So, even Christians can use that defense because, according to the Bible, life begins at first breath. So,
and then
okay.
There's another prohibition in the next subsection where they once again state that a district attorney or can't intervene in an action. So once again, totally civil. And then they say, notwithstanding any other law, a court may not award costs or attorney's fees under Texas civil procedure to a defendant in an action brought under this section. So even if the defendant wins, they cannot be awarded attorney's fees.
So the defendant is the person being sued, correct?
Correct.
So even if I win my case, I still have to pay my attorney's fees?
Yep.
But Joe Schmo doesn't have to if he wins.
If he wins, the defendant will end up paying the
does Joe Schmo doesn't have to pay the attorney's fees?
No.
They don't have to pay the fees for wasting everybody's time.
Well, legally speaking, if they win, they're not wasting anybody's time.
Okay. But if they lose, they still are not responsible. So,
if they lose, they're going to have to pay their attorney's fees. You can't make...
Okay, I get that, but they're not responsible for anybody else's attorney's fees, and they're not responsible for any other fees outside of their own attorney's fees.
Correct.
That's some bullshit. That completely destroys how the legal system, like, that's how what? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Can we just get all of the people out of Texas that are there and don't want to be there, and then just let the rest of them just do whatever they want to themselves? Just let them implode? Because right now, I didn't like Texas. I hated Texas forever. This is not selling Texas to me.
No, but a lot of California companies are going there.
Well, I will say that the only way to actually make a difference is to hit people in the pockets, which is exactly what this is doing. So those companies need to pull out of Texas. Just saying. I think we should start putting pressure on those companies. 7-Eleven is one of them. I love 7-Eleven, but you're in Texas. I don't like that.
Okay, Section 209. They're discussing the undue burden defense. And they're putting limitations on it. So, Section A defendant against whom an action is brought does not have standing to assert the rights of women seeking an abortion as a defense to liability.
Where's this section? Which one?
209A.
209A. Hold up, I'm trying to find it. I've lost. Okay, there's 207. Trying to find 208. Oh my God, I'm so lost in this thing. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Undue burden defense limitation. Okay. So what is...
So, for example, a doctor being sued cannot raise the defense that the woman has the right to an abortion. Can't bring it up.
But okay. All right. Well,
taking that defense away.
Okay. Well, Roe v. Wade establishes that, so that is actually a perfectly legitimate defense. Just putting that out there. That's what Roe v. Wade established. So that's something that Texas does not have the right to do because it's federal.
It would be similar to saying to a murder suspect on trial that you can't bring up a self-defense. We're not going to let you bring up self-defense.
Yeah, but like this basic, what they're doing here is just taking. They are claiming they're taking this defense away, but like a federal judge, if this got to a federal judge would look at that and throw it out because it completely disregards federal law, which trumps state law.
It does trump state law, but you're going to have to go through the whole process of doing that in the meantime.
I know. So let's get this crap up to a federal judge so the federal judge can go no.
And no. I don't know that the Circuit Court of Appeals, where Texas is, would.
No, this would need to be tried outside of the state of Texas, in my opinion.
Well, they probably have one of the more conservative Court of Appeals, so we'll see.
I'm just curious, how many lawmakers is this going to affect? Because, you know, how they've all paid for their mistresses to get
That's
abortions.
Why the first thing I would think about doing would be suing every member of the Texas legislature.
But can you? Like, you don't. You
Why?
Don't.
Why not? You don't know that the person down the street had an abortion.
But you can. Okay.
And they'd have to pay for their own.
That's a frivolous
attorneys.
lawsuit. Like, they're setting it up for a frivolous lawsuit. Is what the way they're setting all of this up is they are allowing frivolous lawsuits to happen. Like, I don't like. Does that not piss judges off? Like, I feel like a judge would be so pissed to get up here and go, "Oh, this person has never even been pregnant," and excuse me, bro, excuse me. You're wasting my time. You're wasting everybody else's time. And then they're not. And then on top of that, they're not even punished for having a frivolous lawsuit.
No, that's the judge's fault. A judge can sanction somebody for a frivolous lawsuit.
Well, according to this, they can't be.
They can't be for. They can.
So the judge can say, and now you're going to pay for their attorney's fees.
No, that's not the sanction a judge is able to put. You can say you're going to pay the court for the time that you've wasted for your frivolous lawsuit. And this court runs at $250 an hour, and you've wasted 20 hours of our time. So I'm going to sanction you $5,000.
I feel like you should also be able to make them pay for the attorney fees, because if you're suing a person who
normally you would
lives under the poverty line, they're not going to be able to afford to defend themselves.
No, not at all. That's what they're counting on. So you're going to have a lot of poor people owing $10,000 that they're not going to be able to pay. So they're going to have judgments on them, haunting them 10, 20, 30 years, unless they file bankruptcy.
I don't know how much more I can take of this, discussing this.
We're at an hour. We can continue on the next episode if you wish.
Yeah, I can't. I am raging. Like,
yeah,
I'm at tears right now. I'm so livid. And I know this is yes, it's a law, but this can be removed, but we can't sleep on it. We have to stay on top of it. And this is obviously going to take more than one podcast. So we're going to stop here because I don't think I can handle talking more about this today. I
understand. And,
Stop.
when we...
Just let me talk. As a survivor of sexual assault and rape, and as someone who has been lower middle class, just living above the poverty line my entire life, a law like this would devastate me. So I can only imagine how it would do for someone who lives under the poverty line in order to get raped and who makes minimum wage and can barely afford to live their own life and barely afford to feed themselves. Women of color are I'd have to pull up the stats, but according to the census, according to the most recent census stuff, we don't have everything from 2020, but this is in 2018. I'm trying to find the right one. Yeah. So in 2018, Black women were about 23%. About 23% of Black women lived under the poverty line. And for white women, it's about 13%. That's a big difference. And when you combine, Hispanic women are almost 20% of Hispanic women, and almost non-Hispanic, non-white women is slightly... Oh, I'm sorry. The non-Hispanic white women, I'm sorry, is actually even less. Less than 10% of non-Hispanic white women, which means me, live under the poverty line. Okay. Versus roughly 23% of Black women are living under the poverty line. This devastates people. And women already don't get paid the same that men get paid. The average income for the median family household income for a married couple is like $90,000 apparently in 2018, which I've never seen that much. So that's for a married couple. So obviously 2 people working or someone who gets paid really well. For a female household with no spouse, it is that the head of the family is a female. Barely $40,000 median income. For a male household, for a single dad, for a single man, for a man who is the head of the household, not married, almost $60,000, if not $60,000. This bill is not only sexist, it is racist. It is so awful and is such a horrible civil rights violation. This law, we have to fight it. This is not okay.
this is just the tip of the iceberg too of what they want to do.
And I don't think I can handle even talking more about it right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the podcast here. We will come back next week and go in depth even more about it. And I will start doing research on attorneys. We'll see if we can't use Ron's resources and find attorneys in Texas for you to help you during this problem. I know the ACLU is a big ACLU is already started. There's a lot of other. I will make sure to have that by next Tuesday, and I will have it available on the website.
I would suspect the Southern Poverty Law Center as well.
Yes, that's another good one as well, which is one that you always wanted to work for.
Yeah.
And you sort of you work for a company that's sort of like them. So that's so we're going to leave it here. And I know this is hard. It's very, very triggering for women. And I know my white woman tears, but you know what? I'm going to use them because this is devastating for all women, especially women of color. And this is not okay. This is really tough content. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here and wanting to learn. If you like this podcast and you want to hear more, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please follow and share in all your favorite places. We are now hosting this live on YouTube, so please come find us on YouTube. We are on Twitter at Learning the Law, so you can find all of those links and stuff there. We'll have links in the podcast notes. You can use the hashtag Learning the Law, all one word, on social media and find us. You can find Ron on Twitter at Necrokijo, Necrokijo, and me at Phoenix Nymphy. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. This is a really tough thing, and if you would like help, please, anyone in Texas who wants to help fight this, please let us know. If you have any available local, attorneys that are fighting and stuff and want them to be showcased, to let us know. But please, just, email us at twolazydogsmedia@gmail.com. And this feels so insincere closing it out like this, but please remember that you are so worthy. You are so worthy. Have a wonderful night.
Bye, guys.